You had to question if what they was doing, if what they carried out in public was really faith or was it performance. You had to ask. You know, at first, you kept quiet because you looked around and everybody else seemed to be more than entertained by what was going on, right? You observed, but at first, you were a participant. And then you got to the point where you had to ask, is this really inner knowing, or is this just performance psychology? You had to ask, and you came to a conclusion. You came to an answer. You probably didn't share it with anybody. You probably just decided to walk away. You saw it for what it was. You did not need nobody to try to explain anything to you. You did not need anybody else's opinion because you saw it clearly. You saw it for what it was. You could not make excuses for the performance, and you could not make excuses for those who were entertained by the performance. So you decided to not be a part of the entire show. They wanted to guilt trip you. They wanted to say that you wrong for not attending the show. But you had enough, right? You got to that point where enough was just enough. You saw more than enough. And you knew that there was something funny going on, right? And you were not going to allow yourself to be carried away by whatever performance that was that they were putting on for those who were willing to allow themselves to be carried away. At that given moment, something happened within you, right? When you realized it, and for you to even back away, and for you to remain silent, that is real power. That is real inner strength. For you to be able to hold yourself back, because you could call people out. Oh yeah, you could. You could definitely put people in the spot, but you said, nah, it seems like this is their cup of tea. You more of a coffee kind of person. So you said, nah, you're not going to deal with that. You backed away. Yes. You have gotten to see that we are living in times that are very interesting. Very, very interesting times. People perform spirituality. And for those who do not really know what spirituality really is, they are moved by these performances. People are much more caught up in performing rituals and performing rites than living in alignment, and I mean real divine alignment from within themselves. They would rather carry on with that makes them feel good in that time being, even though they know that it is lacking the true power that would keep them detached from having to carry on with the rituals over and over. You've seen enough and you've had enough. Today, we're talking about inner strength versus spiritual performance. How do we get to discern the difference between those who really look the part, those who have really rehearsed, gone over words, right? And even though they do not live the word that they project, they can act it out because there is a role that they've allowed themselves to be aligned with, a role that others perceive to be their calling and purpose. And since they benefit from others believing what they embody, what they project, they decide to carry on with it for as long as the show continues to bring in that which is benefiting them, be it ego satisfaction, be it financially, be it some type of validation, right? Whatever reward that they're getting, they would carry on with the show. And as long as the audience never questions, right? If the audience never questions the script, never questions the author of the script, then the performance carries on. But you see beyond all of that. You are not moved by garments. You are not moved by looks, because you know that spirituality in itself is made manifest in different ways. We know that cleanliness is next to godliness, but we also know that there are those who have sat back and studied those characteristics that are attributed to those who are really walking the path, and they have decided to embody the characteristics but deny the reality of the power, the real power that comes with being a conduit for those higher, pure frequencies. But you see beyond all of that. You see when people are doing the most. You see when they're trying to sell to you that which you've already transcended, and yet they're trying to keep you anchored in that frequency bubble. And you're saying, no, I'm sorry. I will not allow my mind to be trapped in that frequency bubble anymore, because I am liberated, right? You have overcome that step. They used repetition to project these frequencies. And since you stepped away from the show and you allowed your mind to be free and you allowed yourself to just breathe, right? You are not under the spell anymore. Oh no, but you watch from the sidelines and you understand exactly what is going on. And you're wondering, when are others going to also realize? But then you're okay with them not realizing, because you know what comes with realizing. You know what comes with having to let go of something that you internalized, something that you accepted wholeheartedly due to innocence, right? And you see how people who might have known the truth, decided to carry on with theatrics to keep you anchored in a certain field of thought. You said no. You said no. That cannot be the way for you. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you because it takes a lot to step away from the crowd and say, look, I'm a walk alone. Even if everybody else is choosing to carry along with the charade, I'm a walk alone. Even if they're going to point fingers at you, call you names, and say that you are the wolf, even if they call you names, right? You not bothered because you see where they at and you know what level they vibrating at, and none of that affects you anymore because you've done the inner work. You are now above that lower vibrational pattern. So you just sympathize with the situation. You shake your head. You walk away. You maintain your peace. You don't even say anything. You don't even reply to all of that because you understand what is happening. And you know that in due season, they too will get to realize that the real inner strength and the real practice comes not just from listening, not just from reading, not just from shouting phrases, but from integrating your walk in real time. Yes. Realizing that it is not about sitting in some building and deeming yourself holy and deeming yourself to be in the presence of the Supreme Creator, but to realize that the Creator is everywhere and His Spirit is alive in us, the living. You see it clearly, with and without glasses on. Maintain your peace. Maintain your peace. And let your peace be that example that will get them to question if they can be at peace without having to go through all of this, then just maybe, they too don't have to go through all of that to experience the peace that comes through grace. The grace that is ever present and ever abundant. Let's cap it at that. Let's cap it at that. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for listening. Carry on with your clarity. Carry on with your divine alignment. You are doing well. You are doing well. Stay blessed and stay in the grace.